Marketing people talk all the time about problem, solution, problem, solution. I prefer to take it a step deeper and say, what are the symptoms of those problems? Because that's what people see them in themselves, is what are those symptoms? Welcome to the Midlife Business Academy. I'm Lori Lyons, marketing strategist, business coach, and accidental techie. After years of running a successful website design agency, I'm now building the business of my dreams and helping other midlife entrepreneurs do the same. From strategy to marketing to mindset, we covered what really matters when you're growing a business that fits your life. Let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to Midlife Business Academy, our hot seat coaching edition. And I am so excited today to welcome my guest, Dr. K, Adriana Kreviak, with One Ripple Effect. And she is a coach, she is a healer, she is a doctor, she is all kinds of things. So let's jump right in. And Dr. K, tell us all about what you're doing, how it's working for you, and I'll just jump in and ask you some questions. So tell us what you do.
Sure. So I was a doctor for 11 years, decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went into functional medicine, and I had a business called Integrative Health Management and got a little burnt out on that, so to speak, in some areas, but realized people need really deep work in order to resolve their issues, because there's always an emotional issue that's attached to a health issue, to a business issue. It's all tangled: relationship issues, health issues. I say if you have a money problem, you have a health problem. If you have a health problem, you have a relationship problem. So they are all connected. So I really started to do deep work with people, realizing that that's a niche I need to pull out and focus on more because it was just too big. So I recently rebranded to One Ripple Effect, where we really just do that deep dive work, being more of your inner power partner rather than trying to do it all and focusing on the thing that will resolve your root of the root issue.
Right. So describe to me, I'm going to go back in just a second and explain to me what functional medicine is for those in our audience that does it, because I think it will stream into what you're doing, and it's a background of what you're doing, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So functional medicine, you may have heard of it. It's becoming relatively prevalent now. It's more of looking at the root cause of conditions rather than you just getting another medication for your blood pressure, for your stomach issues, because there's always something much deeper than that that's driving your perceived health problem. So rather than taking more medications where our medical system is starting to fail, functional medicine has, I think, originated, it's probably been about 10 or 11 years already, but it's becoming much more prevalent. So if you want to call it more of a holistic or alternative method where we work people off of medications or do more supplemental type of projects rather than keep piling up more medications.
Right. And what kind of doctor were you in a regular, is it Western type
Western medicine, yes.
I never can remember which is which. So what kind of doctor were you from a medical standpoint, a Western standpoint?
Yep. I was a foot and ankle surgeon for 11 years.
Yes. So really, when you look at what your background is, you have medical chops. For you to come in and say, this is where I come from in this background. So now let's switch that from that Western medical to functional and to emotional. You got some pretty strong stuff behind you.
I do. I have a psychology degree and philosophy degree as well, and a lot of other certifications we won't get into. But yes, I have those glasses for each angle.
There you go. So describe to me what you're doing now with One Ripple Effect and how you're pulling all that together.
Sure. So when individuals come to me, we really do more dissolving of what we call perceived problems or perceived belief patterns that are actually keeping an individual locked in a certain pattern, whether that is a health issue, because believe it or not, just because you think you have all these health issues, yes, there's a physical component, maybe some toxicity, but I have seen 100% of the time there's usually some emotional component, and we're not going to get into all those details. It's not why we're here. But looking at the root of perhaps in childhood, you had a trauma that we'll use an example of overeating. So maybe as a child, your parents said, you need to eat your full plate of food. So subconsciously, you feel in order to get love from your parents, that is an unconscious belief that rides itself into your current adulthood, where you continuously overeat food unconsciously, and then you can't lose weight because you're like, I just can't stop eating, because there's a fear of you not getting approval. So that's kind of a silly example, but it's a true and silly example.
But I think a lot of us can relate to that. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's an easy one we can use, but health issues, a lot of stomach issues are and do have a huge unconscious emotional pattern that's running that causes, acid reflux,
right,
good old fashioned stress. So we dive into that, we dissolve it, and then the health issue actually starts to dissolve.
Interesting. And there's so much out there that backs that up, and more people are talking about it. So it becomes almost, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm doing air quotes, easier, because it is being so talked about. And so people are more open to seeing that. So here's the bazillion-dollar question. Who's your ideal client? Who do you like to work with?
And this is the question we've been trying to find. The individual that is stuck, whether that is in your business, like in your company, your business is not thriving. Maybe you have continuous employees that have a turnover, because there is a component of it unconsciously also that, why? Because my business is not working. Also, people that are stuck in their health, that are just not moving. Like, I've gone to the naturopath, I've gone to my traditional medicine doctor, I've gone to an acupuncturist, I've gone to a chiropractor, and my back still hurts, and I'm still having other issues, and they're just not resolving. So people that are stuck, even in relationships, so it kind of targets everybody in a way, but companies and seekers to trying to get out of the struggle of why something's not working in their life, whatever that may be.
Okay, so there's a broad spectrum. So just because you're talking to one group doesn't mean you're not going to hit upon something that somebody else could hear and say, oh, you're talking about business owners, but this is also me, because whatever, maybe it's keeping you in trauma, working on a committee that you're working on, or whatever that case may be. So who do you like to work? Who do you see, who, when you work with them, gives you the best feeling and gives you the best results?
I work very well with men, believe it or not.
Okay.
For some reason, men find safety. I don't know why, because we all know men don't like to talk. The infamous question of, hey, the wife,
especially about emotions.
Hey, we got to have a talk. That's the worst question you can ask a man. However, men have much more prevalence of health issues because you guys are so good at shoving things down. You got to admit it. So for some reason, I do have a knack for being able to help the male population a little bit more, or women that are high entrepreneurial, that are quick decision makers, that have a business, that have a very driven life and are struggling because something's just not lining up. So those are probably the two populations that I work really well with, that have excellent results. Not to say that everybody doesn't have excellent results.
Right.
It's just what I seem to attract. Also, individuals that are very intuitive, like me, that don't realize that they are, and don't realize that that is part of their purpose and part of why things may be a little stuck. So intuitive folks, driven individuals.
So would it be fair to say your ideal client would be an intuitive, driven man that is very successful in business, but just isn't as successful as he would like to be, and he doesn't know why, because he's doing all the right things?
That could be.
Okay. So if you expand off of that and you think of, all right, so if you take the words driven, intuitive, and man, and you look even further from driven, intuitive, say driven, intuitive business owner. So you can take that man part out of it and still talk to that group, that individual. But nobody works with men. I've often said, whoever stands up and says, I work with men business owners or male, men that own their own businesses. Lately, it seems everybody's working with women.
That is true, and that's why it makes me unique. And I will say that because I have a very it's funny, but I have a very masculine type of personality. I tell people I do bodybuilding shows, I build muscle, I don't like purses and diamonds. I enjoy food. So for some reason, I have always in my life given great advice, and it seemed to be more of my guy friends that always came, and they still come. So, looking for some advice. So that's just something that evolved on its own, perhaps because of the type of personality that I have, which I'm happy to serve. So It's perfectly fine.
All right. So let's dive a little bit deeper, because the two things, I always ask in my questionnaire, where do you want to start? And you said you would like a lead magnet and you would like some look on your social media. And I think we can do a little bit of combining of both of them, and then we'll separate them out. And I've got some ideas for you for both, because I think one of the things, and, in full transparency, you and I've talked before on the phone. This is the first time we're really talking in a coach, but we've had some conversations before around this. So I know a little bit about you, but it's been, I don't know, a couple months since we've talked. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that at the time, and correct me if this has changed, there was a little bit of hesitation about saying, I don't want to say I want to work with this particular person because I can help everybody. I don't want to narrow it down. And I hear that a lot. So is that still kind of how you're feeling? Or are you still feeling like there's some resistance to saying this is who I work with?
My concern is somebody that's reading it saying, oh gosh, she only works with men, or I have this teenager that just really needs some help, but that's not, they'll just turn away. So to be very transparent, yes, it's still a little bit of a concern, because I can tell you who I don't work with. Mm-hmm. However, it's harder for me to say I will only work with you if you are a man, a business owner. I cannot take anybody else. So, all right,
so let's go down that path for a minute. Who do you not want to work with?
So when I was in integrative health management, we attracted a lot of, because of the functional medicine arena that I have, and there's a lot of hormonal concern. Now, there's a lot of women that are very concerned about their hormones, and that is something I can do, but I found, I will be very transparent, I don't enjoy it because it's so transient. Hormones change from minute to minute. So that is somebody I just don't feel I can provide the best solutions for. However, if you feel you have an emotional component, if you're a woman and you say, yeah, I'm really stuck, I know my hormones may be a thing, but I'm feeling there's emotional component, I will certainly help. But who I don't work with are people that are strictly looking for only a doctor, a physician that's not going to deal with their emotions, women that want to focus strictly on the hormones and are committed to that only. I don't want to look at my emotions. I really just want you to run hormone panels. I'm probably not the person for you.
Okay.
So that I cannot help with. Not that I can't. I'm choosing not to.
Well, and that's the beauty of having our own business. We get to choose that. I'm the same. There's things that I don't enjoy doing, and I used to do it because I felt like I had to, and then finally I was like, why am I doing this? I don't like this. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, and the other people, I should anecdotally say, if you are committed to keeping your belief patterns, meaning I don't want to look at my emotions, I just want you to look at my lab work and do nothing else, I am probably not the best, because I'm here to serve for the highest and best. And we both know, Lori, we talk the woo talk. So you are not just a physical body. You are an emotional being, and you have an energy. And I'm sorry, but you have to run those two things side by side.
Exactly. Exactly. So, all right. So that gets a lot clearer, because sometimes when we talk about what we don't want to do, it can become more clear about what we do want to do. So if you're looking, because you can still talk about that driven entrepreneur, which fairly or unfairly, sometimes that language can bring up that male energy. And when you look at that, that masculine energy, it comes up as men. And so when you're looking at your marketing language, you can actually go in that direction of language without saying, I only want to work with men, or I only want to work with, bitchy women, or however you want to, whatever you want to say, whatever that brings up, because that's, right or wrong. That's a lot of times what people think when they hear that driven ambition. And that's not who you are or who you want to work with. You just like that person because they're probably more open to ideas. Correct. They're probably more open to, I've tried everything else. What am I going to lose? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So taking a look at some of your material, and look, I go to websites because that's where a lot of it is, and then looking at your Instagram, because I think that's where most of your posting is at one point. Was it Instagram, correct?
Both on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. All right. I looked more on Instagram, so hopefully this will take care of both. So what I saw was a mixed message. Do you work with business owners? Do you work with holistic people? Do you work with energy healers? Do you work with, who do you work with? And I think if you can be more specific about who you're attracting, then I think that will help the other side to be less confused, because we've all heard the old saying, a confused mind doesn't buy. So if you make it very, very clear that this is the person that I'm looking for, then you're going to attract them. And, because you're energetic, I can talk about the reticular activating system. When you get that reticular activating system going and you train that and you program that and you give it all the people that you're looking for, then it'll start looking for those people. And that's one of the things that we want to do, is train that reticular activating system to talk to that person. And they'll start listening and hearing your message. You've heard that before, I'm sure. Not a lot of people talk about reticular activating system when they're talking about ideal client, but it only makes sense. That's what it's there for. So hello. So I think if you were to really focus your messaging and by messaging, I'm saying be more specific about who you work with. It doesn't mean that you're not going to attract that very driven, committee, non-for-profit, worker-driven woman, even though she's not a business owner, or even though she's not she doesn't have a corporate job. She's doing all this other stuff and she feels like crap because she's got all this emotional stuff going on, but she's still a very driven woman. She's just not a business owner. So that would be a very good person. Or the same thing would be the high-level executive who's not a business owner, but he has all that stress at work, and it's still the same person, that driven person in business. Absolutely. That you could help. So I think if you can narrow it down and say, this is who I work with, and this is specifically, are you a driven business person? Not business owner, but business person. Are you feeling the stress of what you're doing? Are you feeling like you're doing everything that you can to move forward in your business, or move your business forward if you're a business owner, and there's something not working? You're pushing all the right buttons. You're saying all the right things, but there's something not working. What is that? And then you can start, that gives you a little bit of a framework to say, it could be this, it could be emotional. Here's the things that I've noticed in this driven type of business person, that they have this, they have this, they have this. Is this you? So you're talking to the symptoms of what the problems that they could have and the problems that you solve. Because, marketing people talk all the time about, problem, solution. I prefer to take it a step deeper and say, what are the symptoms of those problems? Because that's what people see them in themselves, is what are those symptoms? So let's dig into that a little bit. When you look at that person, what are some of the symptoms underneath the problems that you solve?
Sure. Somebody that has a lot of stress, can't think clearly, feels a lot of overwhelm, maybe has some health issues, some stomach issues, usually turns to alcohol. I need a drink to just relax. I need a drink because it's been a long week. I need a cigar. I need something to just calm things down because I can't manage things. My relationships aren't working. My family life's a mess. I have to hold everything up. And this can include doctors as well, because I all too much know as a doctor, especially a male, you have to hold up the business and everybody looks up to you to hold everything up. Your office looks up to you. You have to come home and put a smile on your face and, be everything's fine. It's been a great day when it wasn't a good day, when you're overwhelmed, when you're like, I don't really even know how I'm going to keep this together. I'm stressed out beyond belief and I have no help and I have nobody to talk to because I have to put on a front. That would probably be the person that I can help most.
Okay, so there's a lot of stress in there. That's what I kept hearing. Stress, anxiety, pressure. So if this is you, what are 3 things that you can do to help that person? What are the 3 solutions that you have for them? And we could be 2, but I'm picking 3 because it's an odd number.
Sure. Coming up with an action plan, number 1, to start to get that reduced. Doing a clearing process. We actually do a very simple clearing process that you undergo, we do together, and it's literally like clears out the brain. And they're just breathing a certain way can actually start to resolve things. And I know that's the whole breath work. Men don't want to hear that. It's very feminine, but it's actually not. It actually just breathing a certain way will help tremendously for clarity and release.
Okay. So we got a framework. We've got breathing. We've got clearing. And what was the first one?
Action plan.
Action plan. Okay. So you've got 3 solutions that you can help solve those problems of the symptoms that we just talked about. So if you're looking at, we're going to create an action plan for you so that, what are the benefits of an action plan? So we're going to create an action plan for you so that you can
manage the pressure, even dissolve the pressure. So everything starts to flow smoothly like a water through a hose, where right now it might be a little kinked.
Okay. All right. So let's take it a step further. So we've dissolved the pressure. So what is the end result? So that they can do what?
So that they can have better relationships. So their business actually starts to flow so that they actually feel less personal pressure inside their body or whatever health issue they may have, because usually there is one, starts to resolve. Everything starts to just move more smoothly. That's the goal, because right now everything feels like you're under a pressure cooker. So we relieve the pressure cooker. So every part of your life starts to change. And that is the premise of one ripple effect. It's changing literally 1 or 2 things and every part of your life starts to shift.
Yes. And which I love the name. And the visual of the ripple is great. And I've got some notes about that, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right. So we've talked about the action plan, and we've gone pretty deep into the benefits of that, so that it does not just help them physically, but it helps them mentally, it helps them emotionally, so that they have a structure to follow. All right. So let's take that same exercise and do that with clearing. So describe to me before we begin and tell me what you mean by clearing, because a lot of different people have different definitions of that. So let's talk about that for just a second.
Sure. So it's a process we undergo that I actually ask a series of questions, and I have somebody repeat certain things. And there's actually a mechanism that starts happening in the body where it releases. You will feel a release of whatever it is that you have going on. Perhaps you have an anxiety around something, but we have to look at fear. Anxiety is really essentially just fear. It's fear of something.
Yeah.
So perhaps you're fearing that you're going to go broke, or fearing you're going to end up in divorce. We go through a process that I call clearing. It has another name, but we're just going to use the clearing process, that I actually ask a series of questions, have you repeat a few lines over and over, and there's something in the body, and I do a little thing on the back end, but there's a little thing that just starts happening inside the system where you will feel a release of that fear or anxiety, aka anxiety, or whatever it is, anger, resentment, frustration. You put
the emotion. You're going to clear that emotion. All right.
Yes.
So you do a clearing exercise. And is this something that they can do anywhere? Is this something that they can only do with you? Do you give them kind of a blueprint for this, to do this?
Right now we do it together.
Okay.
And then I do give some what I call home play that they can do on their own to continue the process if needed. So I do have a process that later they can use for any time something comes up. But however, initially there may be resistance within the system. So it is important that we do it together. I kind of hold your hand or grab your arm or whatever, however you see it.
Stick on Zoom. Yeah. So, all right. So so part of your framework is we have a clearing. We do a clearing exercise so that, what is the very first thing that you do? So that
whatever the perceived problem is, starts to resolve.
All right. So that, what is the next step with it? The problem is resolving, so that, what is the benefit?
You have more clarity, and magically whatever your circumstance is starts to improve. So whoever it is will fill in the blank. Say, I'm having trouble with my wife. I'm having trouble with my kids. I just can't. And that's spilling over into my business. So we work on whatever is the biggest culminating perceived problem. It starts to resolve, and then you feel lighter because everything starts to move. So hypothetically, we will say that your relationship with your significant other or your children, or you will get the solution to that problem, whatever that may be. It starts to improve.
Would block and problem be interchangeable?
Yes and no. We think we have perceived blocks, but we really don't have a block. It's more essentially that we are not letting something in. We are keeping it away because we have a resistance in the system that is deeply rooted. So we resolve that resistance so that whatever it is that you want, that you desire, I desire to have a better relationship with my wife. I desire for my health to improve, starts to improve because we remove what you are doing to keep it away. So if we want to call it a block, we can, but there really are no blocks, because show me a block, pull it out of the air. You can't.
So resistance is a better word.
Resistance is a better word.
All
resolve the inner resistance or whatever feels tight.
Okay. So you would identify the resistance first, clear it, and then would you do a plan of action, or do you do the plan of action first?
Then we do a plan of action.
Okay. So we just really kind of need to reverse that. All right. So that we're going to identify the resistance. We're going to clear the resistance, and then we're going to set up an action plan on how to keep that resistance from coming back.
We can call it a block. I think it's much easier for people to perceive, because resistance and block feel like two different things, even though I know it's a resistance, but we'll just call it a block.
Yeah. Block feels harder to resolve to me. Like it's like I got to do more work to get rid of it. And resistance is just like, I don't want to do that. Right. I mean, that's the way I perceive it. So, yes. All right. So if we're talking about a framework and we're talking about a plan of action, would that be a better way to frame that? Is you're going to identify whatever it is, you're going to clear whatever it is, and then you're going to come up with a plan of action.
Yes, I actually have a 4-step process. Okay. Now that I think about it, I should. Yes. So we identify the issue, the perceived block, the belief, whatever it is. It's deep, so you won't see it. I help you see what you don't see, because if you don't see it, it won't move. You're just going to spin.
Right.
Number 2, we clear it. Number 3, I do a little kind of a sweeping type of action behind the scenes. And number 4, the action plan, would involve maybe some affirmations or some other things. It is very specific and unique to each individual. So it's not a cookie cutter sheet that I'm going to give you. So it would be an action plan that's tailored to you and your specific situation.
So what do you call that?
The action plan?
Yeah. Or the framework.
We can call it the ripple effect process.
There you go. The ripple effect blueprint.
Yes.
So now you have a frame. You've had a framework. You just didn't have a name for it. So if you take those 4 pieces that you've identified, and you've pulled out benefits from them. We've identified who you would like to work with. We've identified that you've already got an existing framework. You just have to make it a little sexier and juicier by calling it something. And you've identified the 4 pieces. Everything that you do can revolve around those 4 pieces. So if you're looking from a marketing standpoint, if you're looking from your social media standpoint, if you talk about step 1, which is identifying the resistance or identifying the block or identifying the problem, whatever you want to call it, then your social media can, part 1 of your social media can be, is this you? Do you have this? Is this who you are? Then those are very easy things to pull out in your social media. You can do because I know you like video. You can do reels on them. You can do video on them. Then your second part of that, you can start pulling in that second part of that framework. Okay, we've identified them. Now we're going to clear them. Now we're going to talk about some ways that you can clear them, because you can talk about ways. If I have a little minor resistance, and you said to me, do this, close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths and think about that. That's kind of a minor clearing. I mean, I'm making it very simple here. I know. And you go much deeper. But if I saw you doing that on Instagram as a reel, I'd be like, well, that's pretty cool. Wow, she just helped me get rid of, I didn't want to have to make that phone call to the, whoever. And she just, that little mini, just helped me clear that out by seeing that on Instagram. That's pretty cool. And you did those 4 things over and over again. And if you're using AI, you can plug that into ChatGPT and say, here's my blueprint. Give me some things that I can do on social media, and primarily in an Instagram format, that will highlight these 4 things. The other thing that I did not see on your Instagram was I didn't see calls to action. That the way I see it, the way I feel about it, is that social media is a way that you feed your lead magnet and the way that you get leads. And the only way to get them is to ask for them. And a lot of times it's just simply, my link is in the bio. Contact me if you're having this issue. I'd be happy to talk with you. Contact me here, blah, 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 or link is in the bio, because you're telling everybody that you have a next step. And that's not what I'm seeing right now on Instagram. And a lot of business owners forget that, because we're so busy trying to give content. We're so busy trying to do things that we forget we need to give a next step. What's the next thing, the next way you could work with me? So that would be a very easy thing that you can do. The other thing you asked me is you wanted to talk about a lead magnet. What is a way you can use a lead magnet? And you can use your Instagram and send them to a lead magnet. I would love to see you do a video series. 3 odd numbers are always good in marketing. We always know that, 3, 5, whatever. 3 quick videos that somebody can do if they're finding themselves in a little bit of a anxious moment. Here's 3 calming things that you can do. I'm going to give you 3 simple, mantras, deep breaths, and things that you can say. Very simple. We're not talking about having to create a 20-point checklist and then do the graphics and do all that, because I know video for you is very easy. So you could do something very simple like that, and people can listen to it, especially if you make it so that it's not only visual, but descriptive auditorially. Then they can listen to it as they're doing whatever they need to, so they can watch it and listen to it. I think that would be gold for you. because you don't have a lead magnet right now. There's really no way to pull them off of YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're doing. And that would be a very easy way to do it. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can do that, Instagram is very popular right now. Put the word anxious in the comments and I'll send you this. And right. I know you've got a good systems person that could set that up for you, that it's pretty.
Actually had that. We did that.
How did it work?
It didn't work very well, honestly.
So, all right. So let's talk about that for just a second. Give me a nutshell of what you did and what was the lead magnet that you offered?
Yeah. So we did, and this was more for divorced men. We targeted that and that, or anybody going near that. We did a series of videos, like sign up, give us your email, and you're going to get a series of videos. And that's kind of what we did. And we only had about 5 people sign up for that. So It was a little low.
And as much as I believe in a niche, that's very specific. And the first thing I thought of was, if I'm a divorced man, I don't want to give you my email address because I don't want anybody to know I'm asking you about this. Mm. So, that kind of hit me first, is like, ooh, I'm going to, as a woman, if I'm thinking about that, I'm going to do my little sneaky investigating first. And I don't want to put myself out there with that. So maybe there was a niche problem with that. Possibly. Is there a way to reuse those videos that you can offer it to that driven person that's struggling in the office or struggling, to move forward? Could those be repurposed in some way?
I still have those on YouTube. Yep. Okay. They're still there.
Yeah. Why not? If you've already got them, why not repurpose them and send them out? So what was the bulk of the message for those?
Just certain techniques that you can use if you're angry, if you're frustrated, because those are the emotions guys really deal with, is frustration, anger, kind of resentment, those sorts of things. How do we dull those down a little bit so you can kind of get through things if you're in the moment? Right. Until or unless we get through to the clearing process, that will do a lot more. But in the moment, how do I handle this so that I can get through it?
Yeah, and you could easily repurpose those then to that driven person. That are you a little frustrated with your work? Are you a little frustrated in the office? Are you frustrated with where you are from a business standpoint? If you're going back to that business person and that driven and being specific about your language, about the problems that you're solving, you're not specifically saying, are you an ambitious man that's having trouble doing this? You're saying, is this you? Are you driven? Are you frustrated with where you are in, with work? Are you frustrated that maybe you're not making the money that you think you should, even though you're putting all this out there? Then that's a little bit softer language that will draw in some more people, and you can pick and choose who you want to work with there. But yeah, I would look at how you can repurpose those and send them back out there. If you got them, why not? Just wrong niche. Maybe the wrong niche. Yeah. Yeah. So we did a very fast.
Yeah, it was fast.
But I think that if you were to go back and really fine tune and hone in on the symptoms of the problems that you solve, because you got a lot of symptoms, you got a lot of good symptoms that people will hear themselves in. People hear themselves in the symptoms. They don't hear themselves in the problem. So if you talk about symptoms and how you solve those, and the benefits of getting those solved, and just, in your mind, you want to sow that until you can't think of any sow that's anymore. I think just keep sow that. Well, I don't know, then I think that could help you with your messaging. Benefit, because you're stopping at the symptom. And if you keep going and keep talking about the benefits of this, then people will see themselves in it.
Got it.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Adriana, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being one of my hot seat coaching people. If you are interested in doing some hot seat coaching, I'd be happy to talk with you. To schedule a time, it's chatwithlori.com, or, welcome take a look at and hope you got pulled some stuff out of this. I'd love to know what your thoughts on are some of the things that we talked about. Is that you? Are you having trouble with your messaging? Love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the Midlife Business Academy, and we will see you the next time. Thank you for joining me on the Midlife Business Academy. If today's episode made you think, or made you feel seen, share it with a fellow business owner who could use it too. When you're ready for more support, you'll find the link to book your Profitable Path Blueprint call in the show notes. I'll be back next week with more insight and strategy to help you build a business that truly fits your life and one of your dreams. We'll see you next time on the Midlife Business Academy.